When I'd heard that Nicolas Cage was making a movie about his lost pig, I was thinking, okay, is this going to be one of those weird movies that he likes to do? These kind of straight to streaming kind of movies. I just didn't know what to expect, but I'd heard some good things. So, is Pig good? Well, directed by first-time director Michael Sarnoski, Pig tells the story of a truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregon wilderness who must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. The movie stars Nicolas Cage, Alex Wolff, and Adam Arkin. This movie's been on my list for a very, very long time. It's something I always wanted to check out, but what got me to actually watch it this week was because of Nicolas Cage's recent AMA, or Ask Me Anything, over on Reddit in the movies subreddit, which I highly recommend. He was amazing in this thing. I mean, he's warm and he's thoughtful in his answers. He's humble, which I don't know. If you appreciate Nicolas Cage at all for any of the work that he's done, it just makes you love him even more. So yeah, and then of course what he said in this AMA was that Pig was one of his favorite performances he's ever done, which basically put this right at the top of my list. The look of the film is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, some breathtaking shots, wonderful, just, I don't know, the way that the camera just lingers on things, the way that because it's in Portland, there's this sort of fog permeating everything, and it just makes it a beautiful image to look at. And the acting is pretty great all the way across, but it's really Cage that shines here. I mean, the way that everything is understated, and everything is not this sort of loud, obnoxious Nicolas Cage performance that sometimes we've seen from him. He's very reserved here, and it comes off as well. It's sad and haunting and thoughtful and kind of beautiful. There's one scene in particular where Nicolas Cage is in a restaurant and he talks to a chef about things. And I don't want to go into spoilers or anything like that, but in other movies, Nicolas Cage would be, this crazy guy, right? He would just be like, oh, he'd be doing his thing. He'd be raising his voice. He'd be getting violent, whatever, flipping over tables. I don't know. I mean, I think other movies, maybe more Hollywood movies would certainly do that kind of thing. Here, the words that he says to this guy, they're harsh, but it's strangely like he's trying to help him, which is very unexpected. The only thing that to me that keeps that scene from being absolutely perfect is, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it's the performance of the chef himself. It almost he doesn't match Cage's seriousness in it. It's almost it's so over the top. I don't know. His performance almost took me out of the scene, and in a lot of ways, other performances in the movie at times did the exact same thing. It took me out of the movie. It seemed like Cage was playing the role a certain way and was in, like, he knew exactly what kind of movie he was in, and then other people seemed like they were trying to overact. I don't know if it was to try to compensate Cage's lack of overacting or craziness, but that's one of the things that I think is part of the problem why the movie didn't really sink in for me. There's just this overall, melancholy or just sadness over the whole thing. It starts out as almost like a quest type story. Well, he's got to find his pig, and it's like he's on the way, and it never loses focus. That's always the focus of the storytelling. It's always on that way, but suddenly the movie starts to change into something like it's about grief and loss and finding a way to move on, which is a weird thing to, I mean, again, it's just completely unexpected. From a first-time director, it's quite a start to a career. The overall originality, the subtlety, and restraint shown in these scenes, and the way that the story unfolds, it has to be commended. I mean, it's just it has to be, and it is, like I said, it's very beautifully shot. All of those things are great. It just didn't click for me as much as I'd hoped. You know, especially hearing from other reviewers and things like that over the few over these last few months. I was hoping for more, and it never grabbed me. I think there's a lot of people that, when they see the trailer, they kind of expect, okay, this is going to be like a John Wick thing, which it's been. It's definitely I guess the setup for the story. It definitely kind of feels like that. Like we're going to go on this revenge thriller kind of, action fest. And that's not what this is at all. And I think a lot of people might watch this and just get bored it's like, why aren't they doing anything? You know what I mean? But for me, I feel it is absolutely worth your time, especially if you're a fan of Nick Cage and you're a fan of him as an actor and you're a fan of him as a person. It's almost like I feel like you owe it to yourself to check this movie out. So overall, I would give it 3 stars, but again, only if you're willing to check those expectations at the door and just sit down and try to let the movie wash over you. And hopefully it connects with you. It didn't quite connect with me, but that's how it goes sometimes. So when you watch this movie, if you hadn't watched it already, you definitely start to realize that this movie's about, sort of like the restaurant industry and things like that. But if you watch it with this in mind, right? Think about Nicolas Cage's career over the last 15 to 20 years, right? And you think about how the movie industry has gone and things like that. And then you apply some of what's being said in the movie to that. It's actually kind of cool, and it adds another little flavor to it. So yeah. Pig. How many of you have seen it? Let me know down below if you've seen this movie and did it connect with you? Did that get to you? Did Cage's performance just put it over the edge, for you? I mean, let me know. I'm sort of curious. I mean, it didn't quite work for me, but it was still for me. It's nice to see Nicolas Cage back, and some could argue, including him, probably, that he's never left. So let me know down below what you think. We'll talk about it because that's fun, and that's part of why I do this. Is because I like conversations with you all because it's fun. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.